Toy Derricotte is the author of New and Selected Poems from University of Pittsburgh Press 2019, which was a finalist for the National Book Award. The Undertaker's Daughter and 4 earlier collections of poetry, including Tender, winner of the 1998 Patterson Poetry Prize. Her honors include the 2012 Patterson Poetry Prize for Sustained Literary Achievement, the 2012 PEN/Volkner Award for Poetry, the Lucille Medwick Memorial Award from the Poetry Society of America, 3 Pushcart Prizes, and the Distinguished Pioneering of the Arts Award from the United Black Artists. Professor Emerita at the University of Pittsburgh, Derricotte co-founded Cave Canem Foundation with Cornelius Eady, served on the Academy of American Poets Board of Chancellors from 2012 to 2017, and currently serves on Cave Canem's Board of Directors. Slappering Hall Press published Toy Derricotte and Dawn Lundy Martin's conversation chapbook, Every Bruise is a Figure of Remembrance, in March 2020. And everyone here tonight will receive that gorgeous collection, beautifully designed by Ed Rayer of Swamp Press. Most recently, Toy Derricotte received the Frost Medal from the Poetry Society of America for Distinguished Lifetime Achievement in Poetry. Previous winners include Marianne Moore, Gwendolyn Brooks, Allen Ginsberg, Adrienne Rich, Lucille Clifton, Marilyn Nelson, and Susan Howe. The Frost Medal citation from the Poetry Society of America's Board of Governors in 2020 reads, quote, "There are few poets who are as brave as Toy Derricotte, brave in her subject matter and brave in how she insists that even the deepest hurts must sing on the page. Derricotte's New and Selected is an amazing statement of her dedication to craft, vision, and invention, which she has built book by book through her writing life. Her work dives into the interior of African American womanhood and brings back such lyric beauty. Her poems have given vast permission to the poets who have followed her to tell the truth of their lives, and in doing that, have allowed all of us a chance to rediscover the world. Please help me welcome Toy Derricotte to the gala tonight. Thank you so much, Toy, for being here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here to celebrate the Hudson Valley Writers Center and Slappering Hole Press on the occasion of this marvelous gala. Though we're not able to be together to lift a glass of champagne, this evening has given me the energy to change out of my sweatpants, put on a nice scarf, and so for that I'm entirely grateful. I hope you're feeling the vibes. It's an honor to read with Jericho, Susan, Catherine, and Leslie. I'm sending out warm regards to Jennifer Franklin, who worked so hard with Dawn Lundy Martin and me in putting together the chapbook. A Bruise is a Figure of Remembrance. Beautiful chapbook. At a time when grief is so overwhelming for me, for so many artists, when it's so hard to write, it put the pressure on us and gave us a reason. So I hope you'll check it out and perhaps make a purchase. I'm going to read 5 poems, 2 from the chapbook by Dawn and me, and 3 new ones. Why I don't write about George Floyd. Because there is too much to say, because I have nothing to say, because I don't know what to say, because everything has been said, because it hurts too much to say. What can I say? What can I say? Something is stuck in my throat. Something is stuck like an apple. Something is stuck like a knife. Something is stuffed like a foot. Something is stuffed like a body. These next two are from the chapbook. A bruise is a figure of remembrance. This poem has gone through 100 revisions because it has all these separate parts, and I don't know. So I hope it works. Name, Toy Webster, sex, FE, number months of pregnancy 9. Is mother married? Yes. DOB 41241, County Wayne, State Michigan, Village or City Hamtramck. Name of hospital St. Francis. Father Benjamin Webster. Color B1. Age at time of this birth 29. Birthplace Franklin, Kentucky. Occupation mortician. Mother full maiden name Antonia Baquet. Color B1. Age at time of this birth 24. Birthplace Beaumont, Texas. Occupation housewife. Does B1 mean black one? Did someone type B10 for the color of some other parents? What's the difference? Who decided my parents' color? The black doctor who delivered me or the white nurse who typed the form? I was the first black baby born in an all-white Catholic hospital in Hamtramck, Michigan, a Polish village in the middle of Detroit. What was my mother's labor like? How did the white nurses respond to the cries of the first black woman in the maternity ward? Did they come in and say the usual kind words, but with a little crimp in the throat? All my mother remembered was the pain. Things got blurry during the middle passage. So much before and after was lost. There was so much to forget. After my husband's birth, my mother-in-law's doctor explained that he didn't give her drugs because black women were like horses. They didn't feel pain. Maybe she was a B2. My mother was a B1. She got so many drugs that she sat up on the table laughing hysterically. She had to be calmed down like a horse. She had to be put in a dark room with a heavy blanket over her. At birth, the skin and eyes are lighter. You'd need a chart on the wall to measure gradations to hold the skin up to. Perhaps B1 indicates straight light hair, ghost white skin, and blue eyes. Perhaps B2 indicates straight hair, cream skin, and blue eyes. Perhaps B3 indicates soft curls, antique white skin, and light brown or smoky irises. Perhaps B4 indicates wavy hair, seashell skin, brown or dark blue-black irises. Perhaps B5, wavier hair, touch of the tar brush nose, brown or blue-black irises, all the way down to B10, tight as a corkscrew, curls, a no doubt about it, sir, wide nose and skin as black as outer space. A nurse from South Carolina told me there was a chart that said if in doubt, check the size of the baby's genitals. Dear person of authority, please indicate on this line this baby's degree of worthiness to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Dear God, dear parents, dear anybody. Heard on the auction block. If I'm going to be sold, I'd rather be sold as a B1. 2, I was disappointed that I didn't bring a higher price. Who assigns you value? Who whispers in your ear? My mother said when they first handed me to her, she whispered in my ear, I will never be alone again. She needed company to accompany her through the conflagration. She had been 18, alone, a B1 in 1933 in Louisiana when her mother died. She needed an angel, a powerful one, Mary or God, to be with her when it happened. 1. When she found her mother dead at 43 scrubbing a white woman's floor. 2. When she was raped as a child, which she would never open her mouth about, but I believe happened because of the way she treated our bodies, like raging secrets. 3. On her way to school, when she was beaten up on the white side of town for being a little stuck-up yellow nigger, and then beaten up when she crossed over the line to the black part for the same thing. 4. On the train, would she sit in the white or black section? 5. Did the white real estate dealer think of her as B1? What if B1s and B10s are the same to a real estate dealer? She was so afraid that the possibilities would be taken away, possibilities that had been given back reluctantly, like owning your own body or a nice house. It made her skittery. My mother must have been thinking of her body every week when she scrubbed on her hands and knees inside the corners of the bathroom and under the toilet. Pee stains are a telltale sign, with that little angel over her head circling like a fruit fly. I don't want to die with my bed unmade. I don't want the white people in my building to find me dead and whisper among themselves that all along I was the B10 they suspected. Does being a B1 make you more paranoid? If some babies have a birth certificate with just a letter and no number, if after color it just says W, how does that little difference change the self that emerges from the cocoon like a butterfly? I am a poet. I am the co-founder of a successful organization. I am an old woman getting ready to die. I am in good shape for my age. I've worked hard all my life, like my mother did, like my grandmother. I've accomplished something. You can see what I've done. My mother used to stand at the door after the floor was polished. She'd look at the placement of the chairs, tables, at the cut glass ashtrays, at the bisque figurines, and, if necessary, go back and adjust things slightly. And this is the second poem from the chapbook. Entering the universe. The universe is deep. Sometimes you can feel yourself entering. Sometimes you are almost there. Its thickness and texture not ephemeral, but right in the center of your view. You are almost real, and it is almost real, like living mirrors. You feel it deepen the way when you were a child you went behind a mirror expecting to see another person. There is a flatness. You go from surface to surface, layer after layer, like paintings on top of other paintings. But sometimes, for example, tonight at twilight, when the car lights are coming on, the soft silver brightness, each and each, as if they are separate souls, reminds you of lights you cannot see, something in and under the air, something like a greater soul that makes each thing immeasurably precious, a depthless thing, everything going on forever, and a part of you almost entering. You remember when you were a child, you shut your heart like a tomb, a coldness gathered between your soul ribs. Your soul struggled behind it, as if it were behind a door, muffled then silent. So you were born into a motherless world, a world without touch. Your soul shriveled as your body ate, yet here you stand today, a visitor at the entrance of her own being. Hoping, but not certain, grasping everything as wonder. You feel the silence between the beats of your heart, and you hold yourself there, like some great dancer walking up a wall. And two more shorter poems. American Kindness. From the graciousness of my forebears commenced American kindness. Today I felt it twice. A black woman at Robert's Market, as old as I am, left her cashier's post and went all the way back to the muffalata maker to ask if I was supposed to have some kind of sauce, maybe mayo or ketchup, on my sandwich. She didn't have to, but seeing I was confused and opening the dry bread with her fingers, she took action. Later, a thoughtful black woman came out of the ice cream parlor I visited to ask, "Is this your can of LaCroix coconut water?" I was easy to spot with my cane and ice cream dripping down my hand, but she could have thrown the can out. Sure, at Office Max, a white woman handed me a 10% coupon, and sure, a white man sitting at the metal table in the parking lot moved down so I could sit. But think of the numbers of times a slave in charge of a sweltering kitchen picked up her knife and went out to cut off the head of a chicken. And this last one, The Great Beauty. The movie The Great Beauty is one of my favorites. It won the Academy Awards. I think it was in 2016, an Italian movie, The Great Beauty. In the movie, flamingos migrate over Rome and rest overnight on the terrace of Gambardella, so that in the rose light of dawn, he walks out to find his saintly old guest, Sister Maria, meditating among a flamboyance. 100 stand on pink stilt-like legs with roseate plumes and beaks sturdy as lobster crackers. Some rest on one leg or sit with legs tucked under them. Some half-heartedly peck at stone as if they might find breadcrumbs from last night's party. But all are quiet. I know all their Christian names, she brags under her breath to no one, or perhaps to God. I never received such tidings from the universe, but Saturday on my walk, checking my Fitbit again, 3,000 for an old lady is good, I heard wing beats and cooing, and then almost under my arm, one flew up, nearly brushing my hand, as if intentional, then 20, 30 coming from behind, as if they were pouring out of my back. I couldn't tell how many would arrive, 100 resting on the branches of a tree, and some flying up to the balustrade, sitting in a long row stolid as judges. Why can't I take evidence seriously? I, who half believe in God, spoke playfully, not even remembering I had watched Sister Maria's flamingos 2 nights before. What are you doing here? As if they were old friends or a bunch of my kids showing up out of nowhere. I watched for a while, and when they just sat there, turning their heads, I went on with my walk, another 1,500 steps to go. By the time I was almost home, I had convinced myself it was only pigeons, perhaps hungry. But then they came back, from all around, as if they were rising up out of the ground, as if they were being made right before me. All the sounding wings, air whipping and breaking, their gray and pink presences, as if convincing me. Thank you so much.
Jericho Brown is the recipient of a Writing Writers Award and fellowships from the John Simon Guggenheim Foundation, the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study at Harvard University, and the National Endowment for the Arts. Brown's first book, Please, won the American Book Award. His second book, The New Testament, won the Ainsfield Wolf Book Award and was named one of the best of the year by the Library Journal, Cold Front, and the Academy of American Poets. He is also the author of the collection, The Tradition, which was published by Copper Canyon in 2019. It was a finalist for the 2019 National Book Award and the winner of the 2020 Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. His poems have appeared in BuzzFeed, The Nation, The New York Times, The New Yorker, The New Republic, Time, and the Pushcart Prize anthology, as well as several volumes of the best American poetry. He's an associate professor and the director of the creative writing program at Emory University in Atlanta. I recently had the honor of taking a masterclass with Jericho on Zoom for the Emily Dickinson Museum's annual Tell It Slant Festival, and then to hear him alternate between reading Dickinson poems and his own. I don't think it's hyperbole to say it was a life-changing experience. I am so happy for all of you that you get to hear Jericho Brown read from his Pulitzer Prize-winning collection. Thanks to my student, Barb Fulton Jennings, Poet Laureate of Ridgefield, Connecticut, for helping to make this reading possible tonight. Please, all of you, help me welcome the amazing Jericho Brown.
I'm going to read you some sonnets, and it takes me somewhere around a minute to read a sonnet, so I'll read 12. So I'm taking maybe 13 minutes of your time. I think I'll be able to read every sonnet I've ever written. Duplex. A poem is a gesture toward home. It makes dark demands I call my own. Memory makes demands darker than my own. My last love drove a burgundy car. My first love drove a burgundy car. He was fast and awful, tall as my father. Steadfast and awful, my tall father hit hard as a hailstorm. He'd leave marks. Light rain hits easy, but leaves its own mark, like the sound of a mother weeping again. Like the sound of my mother weeping again. No sound beating ends where it began. None of the beaten end up how we began. A poem is a gesture toward home. The card tables. Stop playing. You do remember the card tables, slick stick figures like men with low-cut fades, short but standing straight because we bent them into weak display. What didn't we want? What wouldn't we claim? How perfectly each surface was made for throwing or dropping or slamming a necessary portion of our pay. And how could any of us get by with one in the way? Didn't that bare square ask to be played on, beaten in the head, then folded, then put away, all so we could call ourselves safe now that there was more room, a little more space? The tradition. Aster, nasturtium, delphinium. We thought fingers in dirt meant it was our dirt, learning names in heat, in elements classical philosophers said could change us. Stargazer, foxglove. Summer seemed to bloom against the will of the sun, which news reports claimed flamed hotter on this planet than when our dead fathers wiped sweat from their necks. Cosmos, baby's breath. Men like me and my brothers filmed what we planted for proof we existed before too late. Sped the video to see blossoms brought in seconds, colors you expect in poems where the world ends, everything cut down. John Crawford, Eric Garner, Mike Brown. The water lilies. They open in the day and close at night. They are good at it, at appearances. They are white. I judge them. Judge the study they make of themselves, aspirational beings, fake if you ask me. If you ask me, I'll say no, thank you. I don't need to watch what goes, only imagining itself seen. Don't need to see them yawn their thin mouths and feed on light, absolute and unmoved. They remind me of Black people who see the movie about slaves and exit, saying how they would have fought to whip Legree with his own whip and walked away from the plantation, their eyes raised to the sun without going blind. Duplex. The opposite of rape is understanding. A field of flowers called paintbrushes. A field of flowers called paintbrushes, though the spring be less than actual. Though the spring be less than actual, men roam shirtless as if none ever hurt me. Men roam that myth. In truth, one hurt me. I want to obliterate the flowered field, to obliterate my need for the field and raise a building above the grasses, a building of prayer against the grasses. My body a temple in disrepair. My body is a temple in disrepair. The opposite of rape is understanding. Duplex. I begin with love, hoping to end there. I don't want to leave a messy corpse. I don't want to leave a messy corpse full of medicines that turn in the sun. Some of my medicines turn in the sun. Some of us don't need hell to be good. Those who need most need hell to be good. What are the symptoms of your sickness? Here is one symptom of my sickness. Men who love me are men who miss me. Men who leave me are men who miss me in the dream where I am an island. In the dream where I am an island, I grow green with hope. I'd like to end there. This poem is in two parts. There's a sestet and then an octave is the second part of the poem. Eden. One winter, we decided to plunge, to swim or drown, bare-dicked and beautiful. Then we slept as if the town were warm. Though before either of us got born, heroes thought to end all threats by building one final weapon. We said what any man should when waking cold, his lover pressed against him close. Promise, and I could die this way. Let's celebrate, O ye gentlemen of Thunder Bay. Show me a brick, a bottle, knuckles and feet. Put a pair of Nikes made for catching prey. Don't just scare me. Find your keys and beat the limp out my wrists. I worked all Friday, and this is North America, for God's sake. Treat me like it, like I looked at you that able way you look at women to prove yourselves straight. A young man. We stand together on our block, me and my son, neighbors saying our face is the same, but I know he's better than me. When other children move toward my daughter, he lurches like a brother meant to put them down. He is a bodyguard on the playground. He won't turn apart from her, empties any enemy, leaves them flimsy. Me, confounded, I never fought for so much. I calmed my daughter when I could cradle my daughter. My son swaggers about her. He won't have to heal a girl he won't let free. They are so small, and I still am a young man. In him lives my black anger made red. They play. He is not yet incarcerated. Track 8, song for you. Bread or lightning, his hand opens like the hand of God above me. His neighbors next door turn up their stereo to drown our sounds. They must get tired of him putting me out every 10 days. It's the missing money or the man he caught me kissing. And it doesn't matter. I don't love him. But I do love this song, every version of it. I never knew Natalie Cole recorded one, high and helpless as the clouds her son reached for when she watched the boy drowning. Hit me with some Natalie Cole or some Donny Hathaway in his heaven of screams before he crashed into concrete. Or all 20 temptations, the arthritic and diabetic, the cancerous and violent. I refuse to choose. Nothing hurts like old R&B. God bless the couple next door. They muffle our misery. They must sleep close on nights this cold. A woman with her man's fat hands all to herself. I pray she never has a son. Duplex. Don't accuse me of sleeping with your man when I didn't know you had a man. Back when I didn't know you had a man, the moon glowed above the city's blackout. I walked home by moonlight through the blackout. I was too young to be reasonable. He was so young, so unreasonable. He dipped weed in embalming fluid. He'd dip our weed in embalming fluid. We'd make love on trains and in dressing rooms, love in the subway, love in mall restrooms, a bore at home. He transformed in the city. What's yours at home is a wolf in my city. You can't accuse me of sleeping with a man. Psalm 150. Some folks fool themselves into believing, but I know what I know once at the height of hopeless touching. My man and I hold our breaths, certain we can stop time or maybe eliminate it from our lives, which are shorter since we learned to make love for each other rather than doing it to each other. As for praise and worship, I prefer the latter. Only memory makes us kneel, silent and still. Hear me? Thunder scares. Lightning lets us see. Then, heads covered, we wait for rain. Dear Lord, let me watch for his arrival and hang my head and shake it like a man who's lost and lived. Something keeps trying, but I'm not killed yet. Duplex, Cento. My last love drove a burgundy car, color of a rash, a symptom of sickness. We were the symptoms, the road, our sickness. None of our fights ended where they began. None of the beaten end where they begin. Any man in love can cause a messy corpse, but I didn't want to leave a messy corpse obliterated in some lilied field, stench obliterating lilies of the field, the murderer, young and unreasonable. He was so young, so unreasonable, steadfast and awful, tall as my father. Steadfast and awful, my tall father was my first love. He drove a burgundy car. Thank you so much.